Welcome back to part 3 of setting up a Power Platform Centre of Excellence. So in the last video, we covered off importing the core component solution, making sure we've got the necessary connections, populating the necessary environment variables, and now we're going to turn on some of the critical flows that are required to actually build up that data set that's going to give us the information that we need to govern our Power Platform environment. So they kind of split into 3 categories if you follow the Microsoft documentation. So we've got child flows, setup flows, and inventory flows. So as the name suggests, for the child flows, you're going to want to turn them on because they'll live as parts of larger flows, and if you try and turn on that flow prior to a child flow being turned on, you'll basically get an error. So for our first list of flows that we want to turn on, so let's just get into the right context. So we're at make.powerapps.com. We're in our Centre of Excellence environment. We've gone to Solutions. We've clicked into our Centre of Excellence core component solution. And on the left, just for ease of filtering, we've whittled it down and selected just cloud flows. We're going to whittle this down even more, and we're going to search for the word helper. They're quite nicely named and very clear as to what their purpose is. So we're going to do this sequentially as per the Microsoft documentation. It might be a bit of trial and error. If we get any errors along the way, we'll handle them. There shouldn't be anything major. So the first one is send email. However, that's already turned on. In fact, the majority of these appear to be turned on actually. The next one would be make a check, which has a status of on. Then there's Cloudflow operations, which is also already on. Canvas app operations on. Object operations off. So we'll attempt to turn this one on. What you'll tend to find is if you try and import the core component solution into, say, a Dataverse for Teams environment or with an account that doesn't have sufficient licensing, some of these flows will fail to be turned on by default due to things such as throttling limits, which if you follow my Dataverse for Teams series of setting up the Centre of Excellence, you can get around this, but it's not worth it. Basically, if you're going to commit and invest into this Power Platform, which I hope you will be if you're watching this kind of thing, you want to invest in setting things up properly and paying for the sufficient licensing. But anyway, we're not here to talk about licensing. That'll just depress us all. So after that, we've got some of our cleanup helper ones, which I'm not going to, I'll quickly call them out in the order as per listed, but you can check this on the Microsoft documentation. So you've got cleanup helper. I won't keep saying that word. So after the hyphen, we've got check deleted business process flows, check deleted Canvas apps, check deleted cloud flows, custom connectors, model driven apps, PVA or Power Virtual Agents, solutions, and then Power Apps users shared with. So that all looks good from a child flow perspective. What we'll do now is I'm going to look for ones that start admin pipe. And we're looking for admin, add maker to group. Again, these are classified as setup flows, which is already on. We've got admin, and then we've got excuse support environments from governance flows, which is this one here. Again, that's on. We've then got 3 command center related flows. Well, there's actually more, but 3 that we're initially looking at, and that is the get M365 service messages, which is on. We've got the set COE flow state, so not the get, the set, that's on. and then we've got the initially populate bookmark. So that's all on. We then have a DLP flow. So if we search for DLP, and this one's DLP editor, and then the greater than symbol, parse impacted resources into CSV. Again, that one is turned on. There's admin sync ones, and the sync ones are really critical as well. Well, they all are really, but in particular. So if we do admin pipe sync, and we're looking for sync template v3 COE solution metadata, which is this one here, which is on. We're looking for v3 configure emails, which is on, and we're looking for connectors, which is also on. Next, we're going to be looking at inventory flows. So with the inventory flows, these are going to be the ones that essentially are going to take stock of what you currently have within Power Platform and populate Dataverse tables that can then be queried or visualized by Power BI based on that data that's been collected. So there's some of these which are kind of broken down. So you've got your initial sync template ones, which will kind of do the initial collection, but they will run periodically, maybe once a week, and then similar for the cleanup. Although I'm just double checking just to make sure I don't give you the wrong information. So the sync flows run daily, and some of the cleanup flows run every 2 weeks, for example. There's one in particular to call out. There's one that has flow action details in brackets. That is quite thorough in that if you're going to want analytics to the point of action levels within a flow, then have this. But as part of what it does is it will basically set the owner of each flow that is using any HTTP actions to retrieve further details, but it will remove that owner access once it's done it. Other things to call out with regards to these is that to load balance the queries against Dataverse, so it's not just hammering all the flows, hammering Dataverse at once. It does implement a kind of a random delay, I believe, between 0 and 12 hours before starting that collection. So if it appears like it's running for a long time, it's because it's started, but it's at the delay stage until it's actually going about its business and running after the 0 to 12 hours delay has finished. So what I'm going to do here is we'll go through these now. So again, the bulk of these, in fact, I'll do the cleanup ones first. So if I search for cleanup -admin pipe sync, what have I done wrong here? Cleanup. There's no space there. That should do it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we want all of these to be on. It looks like all of them bar 2 are on. So we're going to turn on the check deleted. Connection status we've already got. Delete bad data we've already got. Orphan makers. Turn on has succeeded. And now we can turn on the final one. In terms of naming convention, we'll go for the one that's a bit of the odd one out. So the next one we'll look for it that starts with optional in brackets. So optionally, it might not be there. Although now my brain's kicked into gear, I think the optional was just to specify that it's optional. So the next ones are admin pipe sync template v3. We'll just go as far as we can just to reduce the amount we see, although there's a lot of these. So the first one is apps, which is already on. We've then got call updates, which is, well, business process flows on. Call updates, we'll turn this one on. I mean, a lot of these in our instance, there won't actually be any data to collect. But the idea is that once we've configured the Centre of Excellence, we'll start to make use of it or place inventory items that it will collect, and then we can kind of see what we're fully getting and what we have to use. So that's that one turned on. Next one, connection identities, which is already on. Custom connectors, already on. Desktop flow runs, on. Desktop flows, on. Flow action details, which is the one we mentioned earlier and has the optional, but I am going to try and just turn everything on, so we will turn that one on. After that, we've got flows. So that's already on. We've got model-driven apps on, portals on, solutions on, sync flow errors, which is on, sync template v3, the core one at the top, which is on, and we've already done the cleanup. So what I'm going to do now actually is I'm just going to take away the search. And just out of interest at this point, I just want to see if and how many flows we've actually got that are in the off status. So we've got capacity alerts, compliance. So this is all makes sense because some of these are probably not really going to come into play until we add some of the other components of the Centre of Excellence. They're all compliance related ones. Some of those are on. Welcome email is off. So we'll leave that as is for now. The next thing, what we'll look at is the optional Command Center app configuration for Microsoft 365 Message Center. And that basically is just the Command Center app that you have available here. You go to play it. Just to give you a bit of a teaser. And if you want to see, once you get used to what these icons represent, you don't have to, but you can expand the menu, and you've got this option of Message Center. And we'll basically be making it so here, this would represent Microsoft 365 Service Center messages, I believe, that are particularly related to the Power Platform. And we'll have this up and running. So basically when we click here, we see the messages. So thank you for watching.